Yo, what up, Devin? What's going on? I'm about to do a reaction video for this brand new interview that just popped up with Zane, Griggs, and Dr. Wiedeman. They did another interview, and yeah, man, things are heating up, bro. Things are heating up in the carnivore community, in the carnivore space. I've been following it. I don't know if you guys have been following it, but the ship is sinking, guys. The ship is sinking, and a lot of these carnivore influencers, these big carnivore influencers, are scrambling. Like, they're trying their best to try and hang on to this thing. And I think they just need to let it go, man. Whoever wants to do it, and whoever doesn't, so what? Like, I don't know. I don't understand why they're so against people getting off of it, but I just find that very interesting. I do know they make a lot of money off their channels, but I'm not going to put any negative things in the air. But yeah, we're going to be doing a reaction video pretty soon to this one. I've seen some other videos as well that have been posted by ex-carnivores that I'm going to look into, but I want to look at this one first. Hold up, guys. I got to turn this Alexa off. Yo, isn't that crazy? We're living in a time right now where it's just like, Alexa, off. Robot, come here. Pretty soon it's going to be like, robot, clean this mess up. Alexa, off. All right, guys, let's dive into this. Things are heating up. All right, you guys ready or what? Have you guys seen this interview already? I just got back from work, so I'm pretty excited. All right, let's see what's going on here. All right, let's start it up. How long is this interview? Yeah, I don't know if we'll be watching this whole thing, but let's see. All right, we are going to do a live reaction to Dr. Lisa Wiedeman and Zane Griggs Fitness. These two people have been taking some heat in the carnivore community. Yeah, I feel really bad. Every time I see the comments, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, we'll see. Let's look. Press play.
I am so really thrilled to have you on, and I think you're feeling the same feeling I'm feeling, which is, ooh, this thing is kind of going crazy, but it shouldn't. It should just be conversation, and it should be being open-minded. And I would like to talk about, we'll get in.
She's right. Why can't it just be open-minded? Like, why such the I guess what I'm saying is, like, why such the pullback? Like, why such the pushback when people want to when people decide that they want to add carbohydrates back into the diet? Why are these guys pushing back so hard? I don't understand. Only we know how we feel. And if we truly feel like crap, if we feel like something's off, when something's off. And these guys are just turning a blind eye to it. Like, they're pretending that we dude, how are they supposed to know what we feel? Something's off. And let's stop ignoring that.
To your experience, my experience, and I'm going to also show on here some other prominent people in this space, their experience, and just get the conversation going so that I know the big issue here is this is conflicting information for people, and it's very hard. It's hard for all of us. It's very hard. And I'll talk about some of that at the end of the video too. But if you could, for my audience who might not know you, can you give a little background and give a little intro? Thanks.
Sure. Lisa, I appreciate it. I love the conversation. I've been wanting to have more and more of these. And I appreciate that you invited me on here. I really respect the platform, your platform here. So, I want to let everyone know as a disclaimer, things you may hear come out of my mouth, those are not coming out of Lisa's mouth. We're not doing the same thing. We're having a conversation about what we're doing. So, if you don't like what I say, don't hold that against Lisa.
Guys, already off the bat, I can tell who's like, what's right and what's wrong. Look at the approach that these guys are taking. Zane is literally coming out and saying, hey, basically, like, don't take everything what I'm saying to be true, like, kind of do your own research kind of thing, right? But these carnivore influencers will just literally say right flat out that carbs are bad, or this is what you should be doing. Like, they try to scare you too. They try to fear monger you into all this other stuff. Right off the bat, I already know the truth.
Because we are just two people who are
Look at the approach
through a journey, who have encountered similar experiences, who are sharing them and sharing with you, but we're sharing with each other. And
guys, look at the different approaches that they're taking here. These are people that are experiencing issues off the carnivore diet or low carb diet. And then the carnivore influencers take a whole different way of speaking to you. They try to fear monger you, and they try to tell you that carbs are bad. They try to tell you if you're not carnivore that you're wrong. Like, it's just, look at the two different approaches. These guys are open-minded.
Does not mean we're both doing the same thing or at the same place in that. And so it's just, and we want to do this to open these conversations, as we were talking earlier. It's like, let's have more of these rather than the ones come in finger pointing and disqualifying.
Exactly.
And so my background, I became a trainer in '98, helping people with what usually became weight loss.
Me too.
Prior to that, in my mid-20s, I had seen my uncles suffering with metabolic disease. So diabetes and heart disease, mostly some form of stroke, heart attack, so forth. And my dad, though, who was the youngest, but as he was getting to their age, he was not struggling with the same issues, and he'd always paid attention to diet. It wasn't perfect, but it's what we knew from, what he knew from the 70s and 80s. He was intentional about his diet, and he always exercised. And so that told me, hey, there's a way to avoid metabolic disease, and I'm going to figure it out. And so that became in my mid-20s. That was my driver to start experimenting with diets and reading. And we didn't have internet. We didn't have communities back then. But I could read, ask people questions, and experiment. And that's what I did. And I started with a vegetarian diet of all things, which was often vegan. Crashed and burned with that a few years later, but it taught me about food. Started training people. 2002, started telling people about using low carb to lose weight. And of course, my
Dude, it seems like we're all on the same path and like the same journey. Like we end up on this vegan, this vegetarian diet, then we go straight up carnivore, then we come back into the middle. Or actually, sorry, let me backtrack that. We come from some sort of standard American diet or some poor diet, then we find the vegan and vegetarian diet, then we go straight carnivore, then we realize that we got to come back towards the middle. But like, it just seems to me like everyone's on a similar path, and some people make it out and some people don't. Like, I remember going vegetarian and vegan, but like I could have, to this day, if I wasn't real with myself and I was still dogmatic about the diet, I'd still be that. I'd still be in that vegan vegetarian world, even when things were going wrong. Same thing applies to the carnivore diet. Like, I'm just so grateful to be able to pull myself out and be able to look from the outside in again and just be open-minded, because you can really like fall into these traps. But it seems like we're all on this similar path. And like I said, some people make it out and some people Some people don't.
Back then, it was like, my coworkers are like, that's kind of dangerous. You need, all the stuff. All right, all the negative feedback on teaching low carb in 2002. 2010, started experimenting with intermittent fasting and then fasted workouts. So I've been on this subject and these topics for a while. I've aged into them. And then I hit a wall in probably right around 51. So like 2021, 2022,
Wow.
I was feeling really run down and burnt out. I think it was over leveraging metabolic stress. My blood sugar was a little higher than I wanted it to be. My thyroid was stressed. TSH was high, which means it's struggling to convert the T4 to T3. Basically, a lot of signs of high cortisol, disrupted sleep, was not recovering from my workouts, getting injured kind of often.
I feel that.
And I thought, okay, I've got to change. This is not working. I've come to an end of something. And
see, the thing is some people don't even make that. Dude, some people try to push through. And like, I feel like you keep pushing and you keep pushing until like you got nothing left. And that's what happened to me. That's what happened to Zane. And I got to be honest, what I'm shocked about is some of these people that are on this carnivore diet, like, or even like Zane explains and Dr. Lisa Wiedeman, dude, she spent another 6 years. She was saying that she was carnivore for 16 years or something, or low carb for 16 years. And it was the last 6 years where she started to experience negative symptoms. I can't believe she lasted that long. Like, some of these people are lasting a long time, even trying to push through what they feel is wrong. That's insane to me. Honestly, I lasted a year and I'm like, okay, something's off. I got to get off this.
I had to make some changes, which began with stop fasting, which was created some over about 2 or 3 months of pretty good improved impact on my sleep, on my recovery, and then began, and later in 2023, experimenting with adding more carbs. I noticed after about 8 or 10 months, I hadn't checked my blood work, and but I was feeling better by increasing my carbs pretty significantly. Didn't really change much else, and it was all whole food, always avoiding ultra processed food, but introduced things like fruit, white rice, sweet potatoes, things like that. And my blood sugar, which had historically been in the 90s, was now fasting glucose of 79.
Wow.
My fasting insulin really hadn't moved. It's always right around 3 or.
You know what's crazy? Carnivore influencers will ignore that. They will ignore that and just turn a blind eye to what he just said. What else could have, dude, he added back carbs. I know he's eaten I think he said he's upwards of 200 to 300 in previous videos, grams of carbs. But how are you just going to ignore that? Look, I'll tell you what, right now I'm up to 300 grams of carbs and the difference is night and day of how I feel. Night and day.
Mid to 2.5 to 3, that hadn't moved. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I felt better. So it was kind of an aha moment for me to start digging deeper into research, into talking to other people, into listening to other people who had been through this themselves, who had come through either keto or carnivore or low carb, and found that they hit walls. It wasn't working for them, and they made a pivot. And looking at the research they were talking about. So it's been kind of a lesson over the last 2 years of experimentation, research, speaking to people. And so I know people might, if they know, kind of familiar with seeing me around, this is not out of left field. This is something I've been really playing with for about 2.5 years and adjusting, experimenting, and feel very strongly that I have found something that's certainly working better for me right now. And with many of the people I've worked with, it's been a benefit as well. So I hope that wasn't too long-winded, but that's basically where I'm, why we're here talking.
Yeah, no. And, I look at this, it's a path because there's a place for an elimination diet, which can be extremely beneficial, especially for people coming from the standard American diet who end up with a huge amount of autoimmune issues, inflammatory issues, weight issues, and trying to grasp onto something that is going to heal them. And getting rid of all the processed foods,
Yeah, definitely.
and really coming down, way down into, let's say,
I tried the vegan diet and I lasted much longer on that diet, 8 months versus 2 months on carnivore. Yeah, I feel that. That's basically how long I lasted on the vegan diet too, till things started going downhill. But the thing about the carnivore diet versus the vegan diet is like you had carbs. The thing about the carnivore diet is it's so dehydrating, man. You're literally just depleting yourself until your body can't take it anymore. And then you just end up with all these electrolyte imbalances and stuff. I don't think you're going to get those same effects in the vegan diet. I think you just get different. I think you get a different negative feedback. And that has to do with, maybe just not getting enough protein in the diet. I'm not sure, but I think that was my issue, was just not getting enough protein. I realized like my body needs protein. But yeah, I don't know. Some people do well on the vegan diet. Some people have been on vegan for so long and they look good. And, but yeah, I don't know. I couldn't do it. But if I was to choose between the two, knowing what I know now, I don't know. I'm still somewhere in the middle. Like I got to be in the middle just because I've experienced them both, and we're definitely in the middle. Like that's the way, in my opinion. Shoot, what did I just do?
carnivore diet, it can be very healing and have a purpose. And I think for me now, if people have watched my prior video, I spoke about how my morning glucose was over 100, and it was running
food preparation was insane.
105 to 115.
My kitchen was always a mess.
And now I'm only 6 months into this whole pivot that I've been pivoting. And my glucose in the morning now is...
Sorry, guys, I got to stop this because Devin's bringing up a good point here in the chat, saying that he got super lean on vegan, but it was hard to get the full spectrum of amino acids. That's the thing, guys, that we are ignoring. People like Steak and Butter Gal, even Paul Saladino, these two came off of a vegan diet, including myself. When I went vegan to carnivore, look at Devin. He was super lean. He couldn't get enough amino acids. So when I went carnivore, my body was starving for amino acids. My body was starving for protein. It felt like I could eat pounds of meat and not gain any weight. And I just like it digested properly. Like, dude, it was like when I eat my first piece of meat, it was like a light bulb turned on in my brain. And what I'm saying is, not everybody's coming from the same diet, guys. Like Steak and Butter Gal and myself and Devin and, like we're coming from vegan diets. Like some of these people on carnivore are coming from an American standard diet and they're fat already, So to tell everybody to eat as much as you can and just pound sticks of butter is not going to work for somebody that's overweight and obese and coming from an American standard diet versus somebody who's coming from a vegan and vegetarian diet. Look what it did to Saladino. That vegan diet scared him from fucking eating. Sorry, excuse my language, but it scared him from eating vegetables ever again. Jesus Christ.
92, 95, 93, like in there. So I'm thrilled with that, but I feel like I'm on a path that it still needs to go lower. I'd love it in the 70s and 80s, and it's going in the right direction. And I'm feeling good. And obviously the other topic that I want to talk about here is, yes, I lost weight. And then people say, well, it's not about the scale. It's not all about the weight, and it's for your health. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't be metabolically healthy and have a waist circumference that isn't metabolically healthy. Okay, so yes, that translates to the number on the scale, but let's just stop talking about that diet mentality of I'm doing this because I want to lose weight and I'm a vain female who wants to, strut around in a bikini at 60 years old. This has a lot to do with getting people to understand.
If you're doing the carnivore diet to lose weight, I'm sorry. I'm going to say it's the worst thing you could do. If you're doing the carnivore diet to, heal from something as an elimination diet to figure out what's causing you issues, yeah, that's fine. But to do it to lose weight, I'm telling you guys are doing yourself a disservice. It goes back to what I said with the vegan diet. Some of these people are coming from like chronic undereating, like vegan malnourishment. Sorry to say it, guys. In my opinion, I think it is. Like, I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor, but if you're not doing it right, as a vegan, like trust me, it's going to feel different when you go on a carnivore diet from a vegan diet than going on a carnivore diet being overweight. It just is. Like, your body is starving for amino acids. But all in all, what I'm trying to say is if you're doing a carnivore diet to lose weight, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. You can lose weight by still eating carbohydrates. Don't believe me? Look at every single physique competitor out there on the internet. They never cut carbs out completely. They track their calories, they stay consistent, they prioritize protein, and they always keep carbohydrates in their diet for hydration and performance. It's never changed. The carnivore diet, in my opinion, is not a weight loss diet. It's an elimination diet.
That this is health. And to think that I am specifically targeting this as a weight loss hack is so wrong. I will say that the majority of people, right, who come into our low carb, carnivore, keto space are doing it because they want to lose weight.
Yes.
And when you lose weight, you also lose medications and diagnosis because as the weight comes down, the inflammation goes down because adipose tissue, whether it's subcutaneous or visceral, is inflammatory and it's not healthy. Bottom line. So we can kind of put that discussion to a rest that when people come to lose weight, yes, part of it's vanity. We want to feel good in our skin. And we also want to be able to get up and move and do things we want to do. But these
carnivore influencers are always talking about healing. You got to freaking eat more fat because you're healing. You know where the healing's coming from? Dr. Lisa Wiedeman hit it right on the nail. It's losing body fat. Losing body fat decreases inflammation. You know what else it does for you? There's a spectrum, right? So on the upper end, this is where you end up with type 2 diabetes, heart disease, risk of certain cancers, blood pressure issues, all kinds of stuff. When you go on that upper end of excess body fat, right? There's also a lower end, right? So we got to be somewhere towards the middle. But what I'm trying to say is all of these problems that occur are most likely due to the body fat issue, right? So when you're losing weight, yes, inflammation goes down. All these things improve. It's the losing weight part. It's the losing excess body fat part. If you're not doing, again, the carnivore diet is great for an elimination diet, for looking at certain foods that are causing you inflammation, because that could happen as well. For an example, I figured out I was allergic to onions. I would have never known that if I didn't go on an elimination diet. So yes, it can be a useful tool, but if you're using it to lose weight, you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. I think it's a terrible idea.
People are struggling. And I can't tell you how many people, I know a huge amount of people in this space, they're carnivoring harder, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And there's a lot of
3 years of high dehydration. I can't believe I did that to myself.
Weight people in this space. And guess what? The majority of them are now on GLP-1s because that became the avenue, the pivot. This is my...
How many people do you guys see on this carnivore diet that are still overweight? They've been overweight for like 3 years. When are we going to wake up?
Perception of it, where the flow was leading as far as the information out there. And I think that and I'm not anti GLP-1 and I'm not huge pro. I feel like I'm right in the middle. I'm open to, yes, maybe it is a tool for certain people that might really need it. And you know, we have to look at all different angles of that also, but I'm not here to pull GLP-1s into this conversation, but I felt like I needed to bring it up because I have to be honest, there was a twinge of a thought in my head of, look at what's happening out here. And maybe that's something I need. Well, I wanted to really try to explore options and explore why.
Dude, Wiedeman is right on the nail. The carnivore diet, the carnivore dieters and the influencers are going to make you think that something's wrong with you. If it doesn't work, if it stops working for you, they're going to make it seem like something's wrong with you. They're going to blame it on other shit. They're going to blame it on oxalate dumping. They're going to blame it on your digestive issues because you have low stomach acid. They're going to tell you to take these, what the hell are those pills called for the stomach acid there? I can't even think. I'm all over the place here. What's the, what is the name of them? Betaine HCl. They're going to make you think it's that. Guys, you're dehydrated. You're dehydrated. All right? Don't fall for this shit. Look at what happened to her. She even started considering GLP-1s.
Because it's not a GLP-1
all she needed was carbs.
Deficiency that was causing my weight to go up and my glucose to go up. Right. It wasn't a deficiency in that was going to cure. I looked at it, there was an overall problem that had been occurring over time. So I'm going to put up here your posts on your glucose, which I aspire to. And, you know, the thing is,
hold on a second. Let's see this. So here we go. So Zane, when I was low carb intermittent fasting and doing fasted workouts, his fasted glucose was 90 to 97 milligrams per deciliter. Next morning blood sugar, 75. Wow, morning blood sugar now, so much for carbs causing insulin resistance, 63 milligrams per deciliter. They're not gonna talk about that though, are they? This is just one example. I'm sure there's many. I mean, I don't check mine, but I'm sure I feel a lot better. So I have no doubt in my mind that that's what's happening to me. But guys, they're just going to ignore this. Like, can you believe that? They're literally just going to ignore this evidence.
This is that it really is important for us to have glucose that isn't in the
Guys, this is not fake. What I'm trying to say is this is not fake what he's showing on the screen. But they're just going to ignore this.
Diabetic range really is. And then I'm going to show here also, this is my weight chart, and the arrow up there is showing March of 2025, about 6 months ago. which is when I had the light bulb moment of, this is what I'm going to try. I need to not talk about it yet because this could be some little offshoot tangent thing that's not going to work. And I want to make sure the information I give is based on solid experience. So that's—
wow, look at that. Look at that weight drop from her just adding carbohydrates back into her diet. That's pretty huge, guys. That's pretty huge. And Dr. Chafee's going to sit there and say, yeah, you weren't losing weight because of artificial sweeteners. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Man, I want you guys to YouTube the leanest people on YouTube right now, which are physique competitors, bodybuilders. Do you know what they use to like curb their appetite because they're so lean, they're starving? Dude, they're drinking diet pop like it no tomorrow. Drinking protein shakes with artificial sweeteners in them. They're the leanest people in the planet. They're shredded. They have the most muscle. Isn't that what we're all trying to do, is gain more muscle, lose body fat? These people are drinking artificial sweeteners, eating artificial sweeteners, no problem. No problem. And they're not getting rid of carbohydrates either. They're not fearing carbohydrates, and they're the most shredded, jacked people on the planet. Okay? So we got to stop saying that shit. Am I saying artificial sweeteners are good for you? No, but I'm saying stop saying that's the reason why it's stalling her weight. Wake up.
That's my experience there. I mean, you can look and see how well that was working after struggling for so long. And here's some other influencers in the space I'm going to bring up. And so this is Megan Alice, and she has a great post. I think you've highlighted that also, that she wrote here: after 6 years of going back and forth, keto, very low carb and carnivore, her thyroid tanked, her hormones took a hit, her energy was gone, and her cortisol was through the roof. And she said
Chafee's going to ignore that too. Guaranteed.
She was in denial about it for a while. And how could something so life transforming be hurting me now? Which was part of what I thought too. Like this whole thing changed my life, because when the moment, where I found it, I was really struggling with a disordered relationship with food, but it was the elimination and coming down to a very limited food selection that had really helped me at the time. And I'll get into this also later. If people are interested, I'm going to do another video of how this change of adding carbs has affected me as far as someone who had a prior disordered relationship with food. But I think the other thing I want to bring up now, since we're talking about different influencers in this space,
dude, you know what I'm finding by adding carbs back into my diet? These people are saying it's not essential. Dude, I'm finding that it is essential. Yeah, it may not be essential to like survive, but if you want to like live and thrive, dude, it's essential. That's what I'm finding through this whole experience.
Who are speaking about this, I want to bring up a couple other clips from Dr. Kiltz first, and he just posted this a couple days ago, so we're going to play this.
Dr. Kiltz here, and I've been Mr. Crazy Carnivore for nearly 15 years. I felt amazing, and some recent things happening all over the world and in my life personally. We've seen some people leave us in this world, and maybe in a very polarizing way, potentially. Leading as a carnivore and only eating meat maybe was a little too polarizing. And recently I've also had a test that showed my CAC score went from 700 to 800, and my CT angiogram noted.
CAC score doesn't matter. That's what the carnivore influencers will tell you. The CAC score doesn't matter.
A few more plaque sites with calcium in my LAD and my right coronary artery and in my circumflex.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if they said plaque didn't matter. It was like protective. The plaque is protective. Dude, watch. Have they said that yet? Because if
My heart function and my blood flow is excellent. I feel great. I recently suffered from some acute colitis. I don't know what it was, but I did some fasting. I did some ivermectin and I did some flagyl. I've recently started consuming fish, salmon. And the whole idea is that could it be that maybe my consumption of only red meat may have contributed? I don't know. I've got some salmon. I also bought some halibut, tuna, and sea bass. I love beef, but maybe my focus on only beef and carnivore is not going in the right direction completely. I'm not ready for broccoli, but baked potato with a lot of sour cream and butter, yeah. But I'm going to say, hey, listen, if you throw in a little bit of broccoli or asparagus in that, that's okay. I say cook it well and add the fat. Maybe it's time that kilts and the carnivore lifestyle be more inclusive.
Yeah, what do you have to say to that, Zane?
I have a few things to say. And I want to start with saying I love Rob Kiltz personally. Like on a personal level, I have a lot of respect for him and his desire to help people with his practice. What he does, his heart for people is huge. When I was interviewing him for Animal Doc, he had me in tears. Just listening to his story and his heart for helping people, I was literally had tears.
Guys, this is the thing. Carnivore or not, at the end of the day, I still truly believe that everybody is just trying to help one another. Okay? But sometimes I think it could just lead you to being overly dogmatic and not open to other options and not seeing other paths. And what that does is it locks you in this box. And I think this is an issue. But am I saying that these carnivore influencers are the devil? No. I think truly people are just trying to help one another and they feel something and they're like, they want to share it with the world. You know, it's kind of like when you wake up to like something, right? You want to share it with everybody. Okay. And I think that's what's happening. But like, sometimes you can really overdo it and you got to stay open because the truth is there's a lot of people experiencing negative symptoms long term and they just ignore it. And I don't know, man, you can't turn a blind eye. I mean, the ship is turning. The ship is turning around and it's starting to like come towards the middle a little bit. And I just feel like they got to accept that because, it's the same exact thing. In the beginning of when the carnivore diet started booming, right? They were going on and on about, because they didn't have much studies to really prove that the carnivore diet was a thing, right? Or healthy. So what they would say is, well, we don't have any like scientific studies, but we have a lot of people healing, and so that should be enough. Well, you got to look at it the same exact way. We have a lot of people experiencing negative symptoms from this long term, so why are you turning a blind eye towards it?
And had to recompose myself to ask him questions because I could feel his heart. So anything I say, if I have a disagreement with someone in this community, it's not a personal thing. It's like, it's about, we're discussing concepts and ideas and I am sympathetic because I've been there looking at some of these symptoms I had with my diet that I believed in so much and told everyone about.
Exactly.
And realized I had to backpedal and change and adjust my theory and
this is what I'm talking about.
So I don't say this judgmentally and I don't say it with any animosity. It's with all respect for the people I'm talking to. I think Rob is on the beginning phase of his journey that you and I have been on are on, and the fact that he's adding baked potato
with extra sour cream.
And that starch, right, I think is probably going to do more for him than the fish, in my opinion. And I am concerned with that LED, that calcium source, not them to sneeze at. That calcium source is significant. I can tell you, when I added the carbs and made this shift, my calcium score was great. But if we want to, I don't want to go down the road of cholesterol, and people have, their own opinions about which cholesterol to pay attention to and all that. But I will tell you that my ApoB dropped significantly as I've added carbs. If someone is concerned about cholesterol and you're having these problems and you want to say, maybe I need to pull it down, even before I pulled back on some of my fat, which I've done, I was just adding carbs pulled my ApoB back significantly, like 20% initially. And then since my last score with the changes I've made, my ApoB dropped back another 30% without medication. And so my doc, looking at that, was kind of in shock that it happened. And so I don't want to go down the cholesterol rabbit hole at all.
That's the thing. Like, I'm pretty sure I was looking at a study, and you guys can quote me in the chat if I'm wrong, but when they were talking about cholesterol levels rising, there were studies out there that showed this like hyper lean responder, that like when they ate carbohydrates, their levels would actually come back down. Like, why are we ignoring that? You know, like if carbohydrates are doing that, then there's something to carbohydrates that is causing that to happen. Like, why are we ignoring that the carbohydrates brought that back down for those individuals? Like it's nothing to, look into. It's just like, you're only going to see what you want to see is what I'm trying to say.
But our diets impact the way our bodies deal with stress and what we do with that and the organs that it impacts. And I think what it comes down to is, for me, what I'm seeing is insulin resistance, heart disease, whether it's type 2 diabetes, fatty liver. It's not about the insulin.
Bro, insulin resistance is like terrible. If you're insulin resistant, that's so bad, man. And the thing is we're also ignoring the fact that we know for a fact that you can be physiologically insulin resistant due to a low carbohydrate diet, keto, carnivore. Like, it causes this physiological insulin resistance, like, in the body. So how is that a good thing? How is that a good thing?
And the blood sugar, from what I'm seeing, is more about the stress hormones. And the impact of stress hormones, I think, is more at the root cause that leads to the blood sugar and the insulin being high. I think those are symptoms, just like the heart disease, the diabetes, the obesity, and fatty liver. I think the high blood sugar and high insulin are symptoms, not causal. The causal comes back to the stress hormones. And stress will most certainly add plaque to your arteries, because it's in a stress response, and it's the body's way of dealing with a fracture or a trauma or some level of stress in the endothelium of the arteries. And as far as it's to my knowledge. And so that's what I see is he's noticing, I think, a reaction of his body under metabolic stress. And in his body, he's not necessarily putting weight on around the middle, and his liver may be acting fine, but it's showing up in his arteries, whereas someone else, it may show up in their liver. Someone else might be a diabetic issue or a weight gain. Does that make?
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to put up Sarah Kleiner and watch what she has to say about her change back. I think it was about 4 years ago. She switched out of carnivore, and we'll put that up here.
So I got this question in my DMs here. If this is you, you're eating super low carb, maybe even strict carnivore, and your blood sugar is still sitting in the 90s or low 100s, the scale is not moving. You feel like the more you restrict, the worse things get. I really want to explain something to you that no one told me when I was in that exact same spot 4 years ago. Now, after 2 years of doing carnivore, my blood sugar stayed high no matter what I did. My thyroid slowed down, my energy tanked, and I actually gained weight, even though I was doing everything right. Now, here's what happens. When you cut carbs too low for too long, your body has to make its own sugar through a process called gluconeogenesis. It's basically your body saying, fine, if you're not going to give me glucose, I'll make it
How is that not stressful on the body? How is that not stressful on the body? And they're talking about stress causing plaque buildup in the arteries. And some people are under this kind of stress for years on this diet. Come on.
myself. And a lot of people say this is fine. But what they don't say is that this process is metabolically expensive. It requires cortisol, stress hormones, and thyroid shifts to keep your blood sugar stable. So over time, you end up in this state where your body is constantly making its own sugar. Your blood sugar looks high, even though you're low carb, and your metabolism slows because your thyroid can become downregulated. Now, it's not that you have failed. It's that your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So I'm not the person who's going to tell you to go out and eat 300 grams of carbohydrates tomorrow. That's going to feel really awful, especially after a long-term keto or carnivore.
Yeah, she brings up a good point, guys. If you're adding carbohydrates back in, please start slowly. I started with 50, and then I went up to 100, then I went to 150, then I went to 200, and then I've kind of just been working at like 250 to 300 right now, and it's going pretty well. Like I'm staying really lean, but because carbs get stored as glycogen, guys. If you're not in a caloric surplus, you're not storing body fat. You're storing glycogen when it comes to carbohydrates. That's the first spot. That's the first reserve tank, So, yeah, she's 100% right. Don't just go immediately. Don't go immediately to 300 grams. You're gonna go. You're gonna go crazy, man. You're gonna come crashing down. But start slowly, and it'll work out for you. Hey, what up, Julian? Yo, Julian's down to 198 now. Let's go from 213. I do remember when you were 213, bro. Keep it up. Keep it up, brother. You're doing good. Yo, Julian, do you have carbohydrates in your diet? This man just 213 and 198. That's a pretty good weight loss.
So what I have seen work is that we have to do a gradual strategic reintroduction, bringing carbs in slowly, bringing fat down to a sustainable level so your body can use both fuel systems again without stress. Because ultimately your body wants flexibility. We're not meant to stay in one metabolic state year round.
Yeah, ever. We're not. We're not meant to stay in one. Bro, these guys that talk about humans don't need carbohydrates, dude, I want you to go and type in every single hunter and gatherer video you can find on the web. They're all eating tons of honey. These guys are lean, dude. They're lean. Bro, they're crushing honey like no tomorrow. They're eating meat and they're eating honey. There's a ton of sugar and honey. And these guys don't have the problems that we have nowadays.
Yeah, interesting. And I'm going to come up on, let's look at this. Suzanne Alexander, and I put over here, she's great. She investigates a lot of primal tribe diets. So here she says, this was a comment to you on one of your posts, that she's really appreciating that we're all opening up the conversation. And in her field work with the Hadza, the Maasai, multiple different tribes, she's never once encountered a population eating 100% animal foods or 100% vegan. And every ancestral culture adapts with plants, animals, and preparation methods unique to their environment.
So Suzanne is a PhD. She's been studying this stuff for a long time. She co-wrote Ancestral Diet Revolution with Dr. Chris Kenobi. And I've been able to sit down with her. She's awesome. We've gone back and forth with some of this stuff a little bit when we've gotten to meet at different events. And then Sarah, I interviewed Sarah for my podcast back, I think it was 2020.
Hey, against the grain, you know what else causes, you know what else equals higher cause mortality? Excess body fat, just being fat, being overweight. Like, how many carnivores do you see that are still overweight and it's been 4 or 5 years on the damn diet and they're telling you to eat more butter? Do you think that's a good idea against the grain? Do you honestly think that's a good idea? Because what's going to cause higher mortality more than anything is being obese. And a lot of your carnivore guys out there are still obese. So stop being blind, open your eyes, get in a caloric deficit, and it's not the carbohydrates. It's the calories. So eating more butter ain't going to do shit.
She was still going by carnivore yogi at the time. She had come from, I think, a vegetarian background in yoga.
All he does is he brings up 3 people in the carnivore community, like 3 influencers, and that's all he has for proof. When I can literally, like, I can go down a list of physique competitors. I can go down the list of fitness people in the fitness realm, the fitness community. I can go on Instagram right now and just scroll down my news feed. They're all eating carbohydrates, and they're way more shredded than anybody he could possibly throw at me in the chat right now. Anybody. If you want to do a comparison side by side of who you're talking about and who I can show you, I have a lot more proof that I can show you of people eating carbohydrates, have more muscle, able to run marathons, sprints, workout, bodybuilders. Bro, I just have more proof than you. Like, you're trying to come at me with like 4 people. You know, it just don't make sense, dude.
Use carnivore to heal some PCOS. Got her, she's able to get pregnant. But I can tell you, looking at her now and looking at her then, she's not only looks a lot leaner now than she was with carnivore, she looks younger. She looks amazing. And when I met her, not that she looked bad, but she was heavier. She was fluffier as a carnivore. And I remember that shift and interviewing her, and again, she was.
Yeah, Julian, you're right. Julian is 100% right. And guess what? A lot of people on the carnivore diet are still chilling at that body fat percentage. And a lot of your carnivore influencers are telling you that they're just healing and they need to eat more fat. Look at vegans. What about vegans? What about vegans? What about vegans? Are you saying they're fat?
All in, just like Sarah doesn't do anything halfway. she's all in, go for it, like burn the boats kind of girl. And then that shift was very interesting. So I've appreciated watching her shift and expressing that, because she's so eloquent at expressing it. But I would 100% agree with what she said. That's what I've been trying to say to people, is the impact on thyroid, the impact on the stress hormones, which your body.
Bro, this guy likes, hey, Julian, don't pay attention. This guy's just clowning, bro. He's clowning. The thing is, if you're going to wake up one day, man, you're going to wake up one day. You keep throwing it, against the grain. No disrespect. I appreciate you being here, but dude, you got to open your eyes, brother. You got to open your eyes. You keep throwing me 4 people in your community, you keep throwing me like outliers in the world, in your carnivore world, that like look like they may be doing okay. But I can give you a whole long list of people who, like, dude, the lean muscle mass ratio to body fat percentage is insane. And they're not taking out carbs. They're not scared of carbs at all whatsoever. Matter of fact, they're eating a good amount of carbohydrates, probably in the 300 gram area. They're prioritizing protein. And these guys are the most shredded people on the planet. And you guys keep using this excuse that carbs are making you fat. It's not. It's the calories, dude. And stop saying humans don't eat carbs. Bro, we've been eating carbs for centuries. It's in the damn Bible. Dude, come on. You keep throwing me the same 4 people. That's all you have.
The zero carb or very low carb keto diet, that is the adaptation. The adaptation is to increase stress hormones, but also lower thyroid so you don't starve to death, because you are breaking down, it's a catabolic state. So you're breaking down tissue. That's what the stress hormones do. They break down fat and they break down protein from muscle, skin, bone to make the glucose, the gluconeogenesis. So
listen, shredded doesn't really have anything to do with it, but what does have to do with it is we're talking about body fat. If you are anywhere upward of like north of like 21% body fat as a male, 25 even, dude, your risk of all these issues occurring are high. Okay. So that's where shredded comes into this whole picture. Like if you're on a diet and you're not losing weight and you're not losing excess body fat and it's been 5 years, then you got to open your eyes, brother. And no proof. Dude, I can't stand this guy when he says no proof. Why don't you go look it up yourself? Go on Google and type in diseases caused by excess body fat. And then go type in Google what body fat percentages, I don't know, go on ChatGPT or something like that. Like what body fat percentage does heart disease, are the risk of heart disease, cancers, strokes? Dude, it's right in front of you. I don't need to sit there and provide it to you in the comment section. Just go look it up, brother. Go look it up. Stop being lazy.
breaking down tissue in a stressful state, which remains elevated all the time. And then your body's down regulates your energy production, which is the thyroid, so that you don't starve to death so quickly. It's adapting to your state, and it's a survival mechanism. Long term, these changes are the adaptation to the diet. They work initially. The diet works initially because you're not adapted to it, so you get some initial benefit of like, hey, my body's scrambling to suddenly, without carbs, it's doing this, it's breaking this down. You lose some weight. You feel some energy because the stress hormones are hitting your brain. And then as your body adjusts and adapts, some of those positive benefits you initially experienced will probably fade or maybe even disappear or stall.
Bro, this guy in the chat, he wants proof. He wants me to show him proof that obesity causes heart disease, strokes, cancers, diabetes. Like, he wants me to show proof. Does this make any sense, guys?
But then the negative impact of that adaptation begins to show itself in the low thyroid, the thinning hair, the elevated blood sugar, the elevated A1Cs, the maybe lethargy, lack of energy, or just being stressed all the time and waking up in the middle of the night with your heart racing and thinking about a million things because your gluconeogenesis kicked in and the stress hormones are through the roof at 3 a.m. So these are all things I hear from other people on low carb, keto, carnivore diets, and several of which I experienced personally. It is the adaptation to the diet which causes the negative side effects. And I mean, just from my perspective and experience.
Doesn't matter what age you are, man.
So this is after, like I said, a couple of years of playing with this and realizing and having aha moments. When I addressed that weight loss thing
Doesn't matter what age you are.
where people are saying, oh, you're just worried about the scale. Like you said, most people get on these diets to lose
gender
weight. That's a very
gender is different. Gender is different. If females are at a certain body fat percentage, it's totally different from males. But when it comes to age, there is no bracket. Look it up.
It's an important metric. If you put it this way, if you had added carbs and you had put on weight, do you think they would have made, oh, look at the scale? Do you think the story might have been like the comments might have been reversed and that, well, see, the scale's telling you that was the wrong decision. But because you lost weight.
See, and that's bullshit. It's not the, dude, this is the difference. This is the difference. Like, these guys get scared when they add the carbohydrates back in and they see the scale go up because of water weight. It's not fat. If you're in a caloric surplus and you're eating carbohydrates, then yes, you're storing some body fat. But if you're in maintenance calories or, under maintenance calories in a caloric deficit and you're eating carbohydrates and you may see the scale go up a little bit, it's water weight, guys. Carbs get stored as glycogen.
By adding carbs. And
fat gets stored as fat. A lot quicker than carbs if you're in a caloric surplus.
That conflicts with their current religion. Then they're saying, why are you looking at the scale? If you're adding fat with your diet and not much change going on, you're adding fat, it's because you're not converting food into cellular energy, which is ATP. If you're not, that's a dysregulation of the energy. That's your body conserving because it thinks it's in that starvation state. So instead of taking more energy, it's diverting that food energy into stored fat because it thinks you're starving, so save it for later instead of making more energy for you to be more active. And so
that's another good point too. I remember when I added carbohydrates back in for the first time, my body was such in like this fight or flight state that like when I finally add carbs back into my diet, I dropped a bunch of water weight. Like maybe I didn't show it on the scale, but in the mirror and how I felt, like the bloat that I had in my stomach was just gone. It was just holding on to it in weird places.
Storing of fat is an indication of a metabolic.
Yo, Devin's right. Being lean with muscle improves all markers of health and reduce all-cause mortality. That's a fact. And there's nothing better you can do for your health. There is nothing better you can do for your health than improving lean muscle mass and decreasing body fat percentages to healthy markers. Those are the number two things we should be, in my opinion, chasing after. And if you're on a diet that's not doing those two things for you, then get the hell off of it.
Dysfunction. Unless you're just completely over consuming, which it doesn't sound like you were at all.
No, I think like that saying where you can really tank your metabolism on long-term carnivore, I think that's where I was at, because there would be times where, I could eat 1,200 calories carnivore restricting and I wasn't losing weight. And once I started incorporating the carbs, changing my macros, and the weight was coming off, I have to really think that my metabolism is ramping up at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that.
And you're reducing the stress hormones. So the adding of carbs elevates blood sugar. You get a little more insulin bump, and that pushes the cortisol and glucagon down.
I feel that.
It's the insulin pushes down the stress hormones, which then means you're producing less
Those are the two things you should
that
be
catabolic energy, the energy that is breaking down fat and creating more glucose through gluconeogenesis all the time.
Bro, I'm going to say this one more time, okay? If your diet isn't improving lean muscle mass and losing body fat percentage to healthy body fat ranges, then get the hell off of it. It's not working. Even if your diet did that at first and then all of a sudden it stopped working, you got to figure something else out. You jump and shit. Something's not working. You get off of it. If it's causing you to go the complete opposite direction from where you're supposed to be going, why are you still on it? Your shredded people are in what age bracket? Every age bracket. Every single age bracket. Every age bracket, dude. Like, What do you mean? There's people from all sorts of different ages that are lean and muscular, and they're not taking carbs out of their diet, dude. Like, we got to be real with ourselves here.
Came down so that the food that you're eating is actually more indicative of the calories you're taking in. But so those are calories being created from within your body that you're not having to eat. So diabetics who wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning with we all get a little cortisol boost in the morning. It comes up, wakes us up, gets a little blood sugar going. That dawn effect. Their dawn effect is taking their blood sugar 180, 200, 250. They haven't eaten for 8 or 10 hours. It's not from their diet. It's from inside their body that's creating this blood sugar, creating essentially calories endogenously by breaking down lean mass and turning into sugar. It's not about what they just ate. It's a hormonal response.
Dude, why do you want to be breaking down protein for sugar? Why? We know that carbohydrates are protein sparing. So why do you want to put that kind of stress on your body?
Creating this problem. That's why I think it's these stress hormones at the base of insulin resistance that is driving some of these issues we're dealing with, and we've been looking at the wrong target. We've been looking at the wrong target. We're still looking at symptoms instead of looking at the root cause.
Right.
And that's kind of where my head is right now.
Yeah. I feel like, again, we're here opening the conversation, although you and I are.
Bro, carnivore diet is an elimination diet. I'm telling you, it's an elimination diet. Okay. Again, a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about the 1800s going on right now in the carnivore community. I got the book right here. Dr. Salisbury, 1800s. The diet healed people. Okay? There were some people that went on it like long term, but they never stayed on, guys. This was an elimination diet until their digestion improved. And every single client that this guy had, it was like a week-long diet. And then he'd add back carbohydrates in the form of rice, potatoes, some vegetables that agreed with these people. That's how he cured them. It was never supposed to be long-term. He even says it in the book that if you stay on one food group for too long, it could cause you some serious issues. Now, am I saying that this is a great, this is just one reference, but I'm just bringing this up because Dr. Salisbury is somebody that these carnivore influencers like to, talk about. And I've read this book beginning to end many times now, and he does things a lot different. Let me tell you that right now. He avoids fat. He's not crushing butter. He chooses the leanest type of ground beef that you can find. And he weighs the food out. Like, he's not cramming people with beef. Like, he's lessening the amount until their digestive system ramps up. And then he slowly adds more protein, more meat. Like, this was the 1800s, so they didn't have macro calculators and shit. But he was basically doing that without the macro calculator. If you guys read the book that these carnivore influencers are quoting, trust me, guys, you're going to see it's a lot different than what they're doing.
We're both personally convinced that for ourselves, our story has pivoted in a wonderful direction.
Yeah.
But we're not here to.
Matter of fact, I got quotes on my wall about Dr. Salisbury. I'm going to tell you a quote right now. Sorry, I got these. I'm an actual nerd when it comes to this shit, guys. But it's funny how these carnivore influencers quote Dr. Salisbury, and it's like they didn't even read the damn book. I mean, I can go on and on about quotes from his book. This one right here. Do not be alarmed at the loss of flesh. It is not a loss of strength, but a waste of accumulated effort matter. Fat is not a strength. It is a burden to the heart and a tax upon the system. Today's carnivore influencers will tell you differently. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Say that eating carnivore for multiple years, if it's working for you, that I think I would just like to say, let this be food for thought, and just really keep trying to learn and understand what else is happening to others out here, that hopefully we can prevent other people from having to get into the position of Dr. Kiltz or Sarah Kleiner. She actually regained her fertility when she incorporated the carbs and leptin reset and circadian rhythm, and she's doing all sorts of great, awesome things. But yeah, so now can you tell me your thoughts?
Let me give you guys another quote from Dr. Salisbury's book that the carnivore influencers like to quote. Begin with small quantities of the minced beef. As the system recovers, the appetite for it will grow, and the quantity can be gradually increased. These modern day carnivores will tell you differently. They'll tell you, well, you got to eat more. You got to eat more fat. You got to eat more meat. You're bloated. Your digestive system's not working, but eat more. Yeah, there's so much, man.
On or knowledge of the term bioenergetics as far as diet?
I'm an old student of it. I can say I've just been digging in maybe off and on for like a year or so, but really more so over the last several months. It's an approach based on optimizing energy production, or making it easier for the cells, your mitochondria, to create more energy, and limiting or inhibiting the things that would stand in the way of that energy, which is usually metabolic stress. They generally say metabolic stress inhibits the conversion of our food into ATP, or cellular energy. And so it's looking at very closely at what's called the TCA cycle, or the cycle of which we turn food energy, glucose and fats, into ATP. Or if there's dysfunction there, we end up storing as fat. That's where all that happens, is in the mitochondria. So how does the mitochondria responding to our hormonal environment, our dietary environment, what we're putting in our body, and stress across the board. And so it was probably developed or made famous by a guy named Ray Peat, who
the Ray Peat diet.
Yeah, and he passed away about 2 years ago, I think, or so, give or take. But there's several people out there who have picked up his research, and many of them coming from a past of keto, carnivore, low carb kind of background, who are sort of championing this and bringing this attention to this science, that his theories, and then bringing in current research to show, hey, there's support for this, and it's generally based around reducing, like I said, metabolic stress, reducing the cortisol levels, the glucagon and epinephrine levels, and certainly not stimulating them through diet on a chronic level. So if they're stimulated through exercise, which is a hormetic response, like a short one, which you recover from, that's great, but it's normal. But not have a lifestyle with diet and so forth that would keep those going chronically all the time. And it's in direct opposition in many ways to a very low carb approach. They have most of them that I've talked to follow a very balanced diet with.
Yeah, there's like Jay Feldman is.
Jay's probably one of the most knowledgeable. Mike Fave, his buddy Mike Fave, they're one of the most knowledgeable. And they have a very balanced, like, it reminds me of the Zone diet, which you and I would remember Barry Sears back
Yeah.
in these lives. But it's a lot of younger people that don't know who I'm talking about. But his approach was like 40, 30, 30, 40 carbs, 30 fat, 30 protein. And it's not that they dial it in just like that, but it's very similar in that they don't really restrict fat.
Dude, my macros right now, let me see. I'm pull up my Fitness Pal right now. If you guys aren't on my Fitness Pal and you guys are looking to lose weight, like you're actually serious about getting in the best shape of your life, I recommend tracking. There is going to get to there, there might be a point where you finally reach your goals that you're looking for, and then you don't have to track like anymore, like you can kind of be more relaxed. But if you want to get down to your goal, you got to know where you're going. You got to know, you know what I mean? You have to have a good path. You got to have a blueprint. And I really recommend using an app. I know other people are using like ChatGPT and stuff, but when I go into mine right now, I'm eating around 2,700 to like 3K calories. My macros, I'm not below, I try not to go under 20% of my calories coming from fat, but I'm just hovering at like 20 to maybe 25% coming from fat. My protein and my carbs are roughly sort of the same. Like for today, yeah, today is roughly, oh, whoops, I'm on the wrong day here. Yeah, my carbs and my protein are kind of the same. I could even bring my protein down and bring my carbs up, and I'd be just chilling, and I'd be fine, to be honest with you. But adding more protein is keeping me a lot more full throughout the day, so it's helping me out. But yeah, my fat is around 21%, protein's around 39%, and carbs are 40%. And I switch that around. Protein can come down, carbs can come back up. But I'm chilling at 280 to 300 grams of carbs. I'm super high with protein right now, 275. Like I said, that could come down. My carbs could come up if I wanted to. My fat is always chilling around 60 to 65 grams of carbs. 60 to 65 grams of fat. And I got to tell you guys, I feel way better. Like, it's a night and day difference. Again, I'm not here to, like, tell people what to do. Like, I'm not saying that this is the best. Like, I'm just giving you guys what's working for me. I've been around the sun when it comes to these diets, man. Like, I'm telling you, like, if you're struggling with carnivore and you're looking to add carbohydrates back in, and maybe it's not going so hot for you in the beginning, I'm telling you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It took me about a couple weeks to a solid month to like feel pretty normal because I just went so long without them. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. If you guys keep going, I promise you it will get better. But I definitely recommend tracking your calories to make sure that you're not, overdoing it so that you don't get scared about the scale. Because I've been chilling at 165 pounds, through this whole process, 300 grams of carbs, from 0 grams to 300 grams of carbs. So it's really a numbers game, guys. It's a calories game. It really is.
Much. They keep an eye on it. Certainly not as high as keto, but because they're eating other.
Oh my God. Carbs are carbs, bro. I'm eating white rice. I'm eating potatoes. I'm eating fruit. Fuck, I had pizza the other day, brother. Carbs.
The things. Their protein is a little more moderate. A lot of them would say probably a 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of ideal body weight in terms of protein rather than the 1-to-1. So they might have a little bit lower. They might be more like 40, 25 protein and 35 fat or so for the most part. And they take a much more, it's like basically avoiding metabolic stress and avoiding processed food, primarily the seed oils, PUFA, fats, which they say is responsible for the beginning of the insulin resistance, which is stimulating the basically causing oxidative stress in the mitochondria, which then leads to the elevation of these stress hormones in a reaction to the metabolic mitochondrial stress, in a reaction of the brain to say, we need more energy. So let's pump up the stress hormones and start blasting more energy out there from structural. But really looking at
We'll talk in 20 years. 20, what? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to get fat? Is that what you're saying? Because I've been doing this since I was 18. I'm 33 now. High carb, low carb. Dude, actually, matter of fact, I've been high carb my whole life as a child, eating all kinds of shit, sugar, candy, cereal. I'm still alive. I'm sure. What do you mean 20 years? I'm sure I'm still gonna, if nothing tragic happens, dude. We're gonna live like if all. Let's just say our lives go perfectly, right? We don't get in a car accident or anything like that. Do you think you're going to just outlive me or I'm going to outlive you? Like, we're looking at average lifespans here, right? It's probably somewhere around 80 years old being the highest for men, or roughly around there. So, like, what is your point? If I'm high carb or low carb, we're still going to be towards that similar area. Let's just say both of us don't die from, some sort of tragic accident. But I'll tell you one thing, my likelihood of getting some sort of, high risk disease from being overweight, I don't know where you're standing right now, where you are. But I'm definitely not in that. In these problems can occur regardless of, what your body fat percentages is, but the likelihood rises, right? So I know that I'm at a healthy body fat range. I don't know about you, brother, but if you're on the carnivore diet and you're overweight, I don't know. I like my chances.
Toxin and PUFA, especially seed oils, and maybe a few other indicators as the main drivers of metabolic stress rather than carbohydrates, whole food carbohydrates.
Yeah. And I think with all of these, we're pretty clear here that we should be avoiding PUFA, seed oils, processed food. Like, that's a given, right? Like,
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, here's the next thing that I want to just bring up to kind of pull this together to make sure that I'm not being incomplete is we have to bring up the topic of conflicting information and opposing views, right? So because I myself thought about this, sugar feeds cancer, right? So on the left there, I have Dr. Kevin Stock. He's a dentist. He's awesome. He's a bodybuilder. He's really deep into the carnivore space. And he says,
oh my God, guys, I'm dying right now because in my apartment, the something's going on with the sewage downstairs. They came and tried to fix some sort of, sewage thing happening. And you can literally, dude, it's everywhere. You can smell it all through the apartment. It's terrible. I'm like gonna pass out here pretty soon.
Carbohydrate cavity connection has been documented on every continent and as far as back as archaeology takes us. Arguing for a high carb diet is fundamentally arguing that a diet bad for oral health is good for systemic health, which is a precarious argument to make. Basically, I guess, because if you rot your teeth and lose your teeth, doesn't matter what diet you're eating, you're pretty much not eating much.
Listen, I'm not a dentist, but I'm going to say it's more of a nutritional issue, like nutrients. I know many, many people who eat tons of carbs, even candy, that like have perfect teeth, no cavities. I don't know about you guys, but they're out there. Like I know people. So to just put a label on it, like I personally think it has something to do with like the nutrients in your diet. But that's just my assumption. I'm not a dentist. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you. But to be honest with you, I think everything is a theory at this point. Like, I don't think Kevin Stock knows directly. Like, can he say 100%? Like, that's the issue, because science is always changing.
Right. That's fine.
And then Dr. Thomas Seyfried, the famous researcher in Boston for metabolic cancer treatment, is, basically he does end up saying, he doesn't say that all humans forever should eat 0 carbs. His emphasis is specifically on cancer therapy and prevention, but he does recommend very low carb intake, essentially ketogenic levels, often 20 grams net carbs a day, sometimes lower. And then Dr. Robert Lustig, who is a big researcher in the sugar field. And I just, I'm trying to summarize what these people are really talking about, but it's refined carbs and added sugars, which is what we were talking about. We don't want processed or refined foods in general, but that's the problem. And unprocessed fiber-rich carbs, whole vegetables, fruits with intact fiber, legumes, and whole grains, and protect you. His main message: fiber protects you because it slows glucose absorption, prevents insulin spikes, and feeds.
Yo, I just want to say, against the grain in the chat right now, listen, I have no hate towards you whatsoever. I hope that you live the longest life possible. All right. And I hope that you have amazing health. I know we're going back and forth at it right now between you and I, but again, I don't wish anything bad upon you. All I'm saying is you can't ignore the fact that this carnivore diet is not working for these people long term. And I don't live with you, dude, so I don't know if you're actually following it to a T, and like you have some cheat meals here and there, or you're drinking, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. We don't live with each other. We don't know. But I'm letting you know, as somebody who was strict carnivore, somebody who's very disciplined. I used to do bodybuilding. I got my little plaque right here. Dude, I am very disciplined and strict whenever I do some sort of diet. Like I have like, yeah. Anyways, I ran into some pretty serious issues, and let me just tell you, I tried everything, like anything you can think of, to get that same, euphoric feeling that I got in the beginning of the diet, and it never came back. Okay, until I started adding my carbohydrates back in, and now I'm seeing some positive results from it, and I'm realizing even my bowel movements. Some people in the carnivore community will say that you're not pooping because you're using up all the meat, like you're digesting everything. So that's why you're not pooping. No, I'm here to tell you that you're constipated, okay? Because as soon as I start eating white rice, which has 0 fiber, and I started to become more hydrated, my stools came back, and they're really good. Like, I can't complain. So we do know for a fact that when you're dehydrated, it does cause constipation. It causes less motility to happen. So to just come out with some wacky claim, not backed by any science, to say that, you're just utilizing all the nutrients from the meat that you're eating. Like, do you have any studies showing that? Like, you like to sit here and to ask me for studies. Do you have any studies backing that claim up? Because I have seen none that I'm aware of. But I'm here to tell everybody out there that even white rice, just adding some white rice and drinking more water and replenishing my glycogen store and just getting more hydrated has allowed me to have proper bowel movements now. Okay, so I was severely dehydrated. I don't know about you. You seem like you're doing great. But like I said, I know we're going back and forth. But I wish nothing but the best for you, brother. I really do. I hope you figure it out. But for me and a lot of people out here that these carnivore dieters and influencers are attacking and turning a blind eye towards, there's like hundreds of us out here now. Like you can't, it's getting to a point where you can't ignore it. You know what I mean? When something like, it's just the population is growing and growing and growing, and it just becomes so big that like you can't ignore it. It's going to happen. So you can't ignore the negatives. You know, if you are new to carnivore, you only been on it for a few months, maybe you're coming up on your second year, and that's kind of where things fell off for me. Well, I'm here as proof, and so are many others. You can look at us towards the future, because right now you may be in the beginning of the diet and you're wondering, well, what does the future hold for me? You know, we don't have scientific studies of people who have done it for, you know, whatever long, but I'm here to tell you that I am the future. And these people like Dr. Wiedeman and Zane, and dude, these guys are the future. So take a look at us, you know, just keep us in mind as you're going through it. If you feel great on the diet now, yeah, keep going. But just know that we're here for you when things go wrong. Okay. And I think that's why this is important to have us in the conversation, so that, you know, it's not just like you're stuck in a dead end and you got nowhere to go. Because that's kind of how we feel. Now we got to figure out how to come back.
So I guess you could say that's not an opposing view. That's a view for the carbohydrates. But, you know, what is your thoughts on, I mean, the big one that I get is people saying, but sugar and carbs feed cancer.
So Siegfried has great work in that what he focused on was that cancer is not genetic or a genetic mutation of DNA. It's about a damage to the mitochondria. And so it's a damage to the mitochondria, which then leads to the cancerous cells growing, which it changes their metabolism, because they don't use the mitochondria. They metabolize their fuel outside the mitochondria, which they're left with essentially glycolysis allows them to process glucose without oxygen. That happens outside the mitochondria. We have glucose oxidation, which happens in the mitochondria, but it can't do that either because that mitochondria is damaged. So his focus was on that. And so, oh boy, there's so many things I want to say about that. Mitochondrial damage is not caused by carbohydrates. The mitochondria is set up to oxidize glucose. What I think, if we can pull in some Kate Shanahan in here, her theory with the seed oils is that the seed oils cause the oxidative stress and damage in the mitochondria. And we can go back to the oxidative stress theory of disease, where basically anything that causes oxidative stress is...
Bro, the thing is people aren't realizing that, you know, Sean Baker just posted something recently, and it was a post about white rice causing insulin resistance or something like that in Asia or Asian countries and stuff. Dude, I don't know about you, but things are a lot different now. It's not just white rice. Okay. Do we have, like, can we be more specific here? Because I know when I go out to get like shit, like Chinese food, Indian food, any kind of food with rice in it nowadays, it's got a ton of oil in it. So you're not just getting white rice, you're getting a lot of fat with it too. And then you end up in a caloric surplus. So you're eating this big fat / carbohydrate bomb. And then you get more, and then you get fatter. You're storing fat because you're in a caloric surplus, and you do that enough times. Now you're overweight, you know, and then you're insulin resistant because you have too much body fat on you. You know, we're not clear with some of these studies.
Really should be our origin for disease. Cigarettes cause oxidative stress disease. Alcohol, radiation, endotoxin in the gut, oxidative stress, the seed oils in the mitochondria. You name something that we know is a source of disease, it starts with oxidative stress. And so he found oxidative stress, or basically damage to the mitochondria, then led to a change in the metabolism of that cell as that cancer cell wanted to survive. The glucose didn't cause the problem. The glucose is just what the cancer cell is left with to metabolize, but it's not just glucose. cancer cells actually feed on lactate as well, just as much as they do glucose. What produces lactate? Exercise. So does exercise cause cancer because cancer cells feed on lactate and exercise? Because cancer cells feed on lactate and exercise creates lactate? Does that mean exercise causes cancer? No. That means that cancer cells feed on a substrate which happens to be produced by, also increased by exercise. So to say
All
that
right, guys, I'm probably going to skip along on this one.
glucose causes cancer. Yeah, I think, sugar is not your friend, obviously, because you're trying to.
We don't want to add fuel to the fire at that point.
Yeah, right. But that's not the cause of it. So if you don't have cancer, you have healthy glucose. You should have healthy glucose oxidation and
Healthy
metabolism.
mitochondria.
Healthy mitochondria. I mean, all these things should be fine.
Dude, that brings up a point too. It's like sometimes, like, how many people are on this carnivore diet that had nothing wrong with them, and now they're coming out with all kinds of different shit that they've never experienced before, like negative symptoms. Like, yeah, when I went on it, it definitely helped my asthma. Like, I'm still asthma free. I got a bunch of carbs in my diet. But the reason why is because I was able to figure out what foods were causing me issues, allergic reactions, what foods were, triggering my asthma to react. That's what the carnivore diet did for me. That's what I realized. But now I'm eating 300 grams of carbohydrates and, I'm fine. It's not the carbs. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, the carnivore diet is a great elimination diet, but back to what Zane's saying, it's like how many, like, what I'm saying is, after a while, now I'm experiencing negative symptoms that I never experienced, that I wasn't experiencing before I went on carnivore, because I just personally think you can do it way too long. I just do. I think it's a great elimination diet to figure out what's triggering you, what's causing you issues. But if you're doing it as a weight loss diet, and maybe you're coming from like not having anything wrong with you at all, and now you're going on it, but now you're coming off of it, and because you're experiencing things that you didn't experience before you tried it, that's a problem.
It's a little too much of association. People jump. That's a big leap to say cancer feeds on glucose. Glucose causes cancer. We just share the same cell in your body. And so that would be my take. It's like, you have active cancer. Yeah. Then you need to make some changes to your lifestyle to fight that cancer. And that would definitely be one I would look at as well. But I'm not afraid of glucose causing cancer. That does not add up. There's no evidence of that.
No, because then all these populations of people that Suzanne Alexander was examining, then they'd all be extinct from cancer because they were all
the Tukahimsa, I think, is in Guinea, the Siname in South America, the Okinawans. I mean, they have Okinawans 10-to-1 ratio of carb to protein. All those I just mentioned, they have a 75 to 85% of their diet from carbohydrates. They have no metabolic disease. The Siname, I guess they're in South America, they're the best heart health from people over 40. They're in their culture because they're not infected by industrial diets. These are all high carb, like I said, 75 to 85% carb, very low fat, very low to moderate protein. But it's not all the same. They're eating different based on their geographic region and what's available to them. But there's no metabolic disease. And so it's silly. It's silly to blame carbohydrates on something that's not causing the same thing everywhere when it's in higher rates of consumption than it is in our own country. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was like when you mentioned that, with Susan Alexander's shown is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So with Lustig, I mean, Lustig will call glucose the substrate of life. His attack has been on fructose and fructose in.
All right, guys, I'm probably going to skip
like it's really
along
like
on this video.
sodas and all the processed food. But he said, fruit, hopefully on their approach and what they're saying. How do you look at those?
Yeah, no, this is where I'm at, where I feel that so many people, this pivot, and I know it's been a long pivot for you, and it was a little while ago. It's a recent pivot for me. It's a very recent pivot for Dr. Kiltz, a 4 year ago for Sarah Kleiner. I want to just open the conversation of the questions that I myself had and bring this up so that we can discuss it. Are we saying that, it's like I was saying before, it's not like we're here trying to convince somebody out of their carnivore way. It's just opening the conversation to understand that it's gone wrong for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dude, she couldn't have said it more perfect. You see the difference, guys? Do you see the difference? Like the way that she's speaking and the way that these carnivore influencers are attacking people that are experiencing negative symptoms. Like she just said, like, we're not attacking, your way of eating. Like if carnivore is working great for you, stay on it. But she's just opening up a conversation about people that are experiencing negative symptoms from this diet. But for some strange reason, the whole carnivore community is like, pushing back from that. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why this conversation can't be had, because there is many of us out there. None of us are saying you can't do the diet. I'm getting the complete opposite vibe from the carnivore community, though.
And you have to listen to that experience and listen to those stories and listen to those testimonies and anecdotal things, just like we listen to the testimonies and anecdotal stories to bring us into, let's say, the carnivore keto world. But it's time to pay attention that long term, this is, in our opinion, from our experience, not the right thing to do. Because for sure, I don't want to be in, diabetic range of my glucose. It's really not healthy. And carrying extra weight, I was up to close to 30% body fat, and that's not healthy. No matter what you want to say about vanity and the scale, it's not healthy. So just really bringing out, I'll put up here, make your own way on your journey to optimal health, and don't be loyal to a label to the detriment of the progress of your own health. I mean, that's really, we don't want to be dogmatic. And just like I don't want to, we don't like the dogmatism of the vegans, right? We're all like,
Exactly.
And then now the carnivore community's been tagged so dogmatic and so much, like there's zealots in there, right? And I mean, I've had people attack me. I'm making a recipe and I'm using, different spices, and they're like, "That's not carnivore. What do you think?" I'm like, "All right, we're here to come together in a way of trying to figure out what is satiating, what is really satisfying as far as food, because no matter how we look at it, is part of socialization and enjoyment too, and what is going to lead us to optimal health." And what I thought and what you thought were leading us to being lean and metabolically healthy turned out to not ultimately be what we thought. And that's what this is all about, is airing that conversation. And I would love if anybody would add a comment here on the video and give me your experience, because I've had, I'm going to say, when I say literally, over 1,000 people commenting after my last a video writing to me and saying, I can't tell you how happy I am to have this conversation opened up, because that's exactly what's happening to me. And I got that over and over and over. So I thought, wow, this is really powerful and this needs to be talked about more. So Zane, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap up the reaction video. All in all, I see the difference, man. I see the difference in the approach. You know, these guys are coming at it as, you know, if you're on the diet and it's working for you, great. Stay on it. But stop turning a blind eye to the hundreds of testimonies of people that are experiencing negative symptoms from this diet long term. I just think it's important that not to be dogmatic and to stay open. But yeah, anyways, that's going to do it for this reaction video. I got to run, guys. I'm going to head to the gym now, hit a leg day. Wish me luck. Hopefully you guys are out there hitting the gym and getting after it. But I will be back on for a possible other reaction video soon. All right, guys. I'm going to be signing out here. I got to go hit the gym, guys. All right, I'm out of here. Peace, y'all. Have a good rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.